2023. And Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Commissioner Bartleman?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Judge Clymer?
Here.
Commissioner Abraham?
Commissioner Abraham won't be able to be with us this evening, but we do have a quorum of 3. So, Commissioner Bartleman, you offer our prayer, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We ask you to be with us tonight as we conduct the business of this county and just give us the wisdom and the words we need to help further and make this county a better place. We ask a special prayer tonight for all those who are suffering in Louisville from the shooting up there. From the shooting in Nashville, we just pray for all the first responders, the victims, and the residents of those communities who are suffering because of these tragedies. Father, again, we just pray that you be with them, give them comfort in any way you can, Father. And Father, we just ask you to be with us day by day. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on is need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Something more important this meeting.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, budget transfer.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $300,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved April 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve the voucher claims register from March 27th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023 to show county bills in the amount of $473,073.86 were paid.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, on discussion, we've got Bruce Wilcox from GPED here to give us our quarterly update. Come on up there, Brother Wilcox. What's going on?
That was quick.
Yeah, we don't want to keep a man like you waiting.
Well, good evening, Judge Clymer and Commissioners Bartleman and Jones. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you this evening. Going back through my notes, I think it was December 22nd, sometime around in December when I last spoke to you. So my comments this evening will focus on primarily things that we've been associated with or accomplished during the first quarter of this year. The year started off a little slow. January started off a little slow, but things have considerably picked up during the months of February and March. During the first quarter of this year, we've had 10 prospects or 10 projects that we've worked. The average capital investment of those projects is $1.1 billion, $1.1 billion. And the average number of jobs attached to those is 835 jobs. So we've been fortunate and been able to look at a lot of large-scale projects. 5 of the 10 of those projects have been in the automotive or EV or battery industries. 1 of those has been in the heavy industrial sector, and 4 of them have been in advanced manufacturing. From those 10 prospects, we've actually had 4 on-site visits from these prospects. Again, a pretty good mix of EV and heavy industrial projects. When you look at our actual site visits, we actually had a site visit even as late as last week. Our projects, we've had 2 successful projects that we've been able to get to the finish line. Out of respect to the companies that we've been working with, they really don't want it publicly disclosed, what they're doing. I'll share with you in executive session the details of those, but the first one is in the industrial manufacturing area. It's 25 jobs at $35 an hour. It's a $12 million capital investment, and it will have a recurring $6.4 million economic impact on our community. The second project that we've been associated with and that's been just recently completed is 100 new jobs at $20 an hour. It's an $11.7 million capital investment into our community with a $13.2 million recurring economic annual benefit on the community. So going back about 3 years, from April of 2020 up through current, GPED's been associated with 569 direct jobs. Those indirect jobs attached to those, there's 359, for a total of 928 direct, induced, and indirect jobs. The average hourly rate of pay of the jobs we've been associated with is $22.03 per hour, $300 million in capital investment, and the recurring annual economic benefit of $70.7 million into our community. Just the direct payroll alone from these jobs that we've been associated with is over $26 million a year. So we're excited about that. From a site development standpoint, we've often talked about the things that we need to do to continue to market ourselves and have our assets available and ready, presentable. We just recently cleared and grubbed Industrial Park West. We have 2 parcels there. One's a 59-acre tract, the other's a 25-acre parcel tract. We had about 23 or 24 acres within those 2 tracts that needed to be cleared and grubbed. We executed a contract, and thankfully to you and the city partnering with that, we're able to get that accomplished. So that's been done. I think there's just a couple of burn piles that if we can catch it when it's not wet and the wind's not blowing, we can get that wrapped up. But we're excited to...
What did the city pay?
It was half, 50-50. We have been successful in securing a Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant, KPDI. We've often talked about the challenges that we've had at the triple rail site, and in my opinion, there have been 3 primary reasons the site has not gone before. One of those was, even though it's a river access site, we didn't have actual river access that we owned. We had access to the river through Four Rivers Terminal, and they've often said they would build a slack water port out there for the right opportunity. But the things that we learned was that for-profit companies don't always want to run the risk of being held hostage by another for-profit company getting their goods on and off the river. So if you'll recall, in the 4th quarter of last year, we purchased the 38 acres there from Canadian National for $370,000, and we now own 1,000 feet of river frontage. So we've checked that box addressing that item. The second item, in my opinion, of the challenge, one of the challenges of the site not having gone so far was the lack of sewers. So we applied for a Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant of $500,000. We were successful in being selected to receive that. Thankfully, the Joint Sewer Agency is going to match that grant 100%, $500,000. And we're working with John Hodges and Joint Sewer Agency on the design and getting the sewers to the site there. So the intention is to get the sewers up to the rail line because at this point we don't know if we land a prospect with 200 jobs or it could be 2,000 jobs. So there's a fine line on determining how far we engineer it and get it going. But the $500,000 grant will facilitate a long way in helping us get that way. So we've checked that box. The third issue and the third item has been road access and accessibility. And if you'll recall, in last year's state biennium budget, the state allotted, I believe it was right at $10 million for the access road coming off of Highway 358. And just last week, the Paducah McCracken County Industrial Development Authority, we met, and we are in the process of working with the state on transferring about 7 or 8 acres to the state so that they can begin the construction of the access road. The construction is anticipated to begin as soon as August of this year. They'll be letting the work for that job here in the next few months, but the plan is to start constructing it from north going south. So we're excited about that. We've checked that box. So again, we think the triple rail site is continually being positioned better and better for someone to take it. Most of these projects that we've entertained this year have been focused and centered around the triple rail site itself. From a marketing standpoint, We have partnered with 11 other western Kentucky counties called Kentucky Cornerstone to market ourselves. We've engaged Marketing Alliance to create a marketing program and a website that focuses on our communities in western Kentucky, and it's specifically tailored to the EV and automotive industry. We're about 150 miles from the Stanton, Tennessee plant, the Ford Blue Oval SK project, and we're about 175 miles from Glendale. We're over in Elizabethtown. So we're doing what we can to try to partner together and capitalize on that through Kentucky Cornerstone. Jim Moore, my counterpart, he's been out on the road marketing our community. 2 or 3 weeks ago, he just completed a tour up to the Northeast in New Jersey and New York City, where he met with 4 prospective companies and 4 site selectors on the benefits of them being located here. We have trips for him planned into Canada, the Pacific Northwest, with the Kentucky United program that we partner with KAED, Kentucky Association for Economic Development, and the State Cabinet for Economic Development, where we'll go to Chicago, Greenville, South Carolina, Atlanta, different places. And then we'll also be going to Select USA over in Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. So we're really excited about the work that Jim is doing there as well. Next Monday, April 17th, Jim, myself, and Marianne Medlock will be going to Frankfurt. The Cabinet for Economic Development allows local communities to come in 1 a week and do the pitch for their community. And we are going to be going and meeting with the site selectors, providing them lunch, sharing the benefits of our sites, and then we're taking Marianne Medlock to share our labor story. We have a great labor story, a great labor shed here in McCracken County. Every day we have 2,000 goods manufacturing workers leaving McCracken County to go work in surrounding counties. In our 50-mile labor shed, we have 28,000 goods manufacturing workers who are available. So we're trying to get the message out and make sure that these prospects know that we can certainly meet their labor needs. So I've got some other things that I'll share with you in more detail in executive session, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have. Until then.
Well, I just wanted to recap. 500, since you've been coach of GPAD, 569 jobs, direct jobs.
569.
And we heard last week that Sprocket, I think, has produced 41 jobs, so we're over 600 jobs for the last 3 years. And I will say, I remember Mayor Brandy Harless talking about how we needed to improve our pitching game for our community, and I had an opportunity to watch you and Jim do your pitching a couple weeks ago, and I can tell the community, I at least believe we have improved that pitching game, and I appreciate the effort you guys have made. It's a good pitching game.
I appreciate that. We'd like to throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. Well, good steady growth. 200 jobs a year is not bad either. So.
It is. If you look back consistently, we're landing about 3 to 4 projects a year. And everybody wants to land the billion-dollar project, but historically, if you look back at economic development everywhere, 60 to 80% of growth comes from existing industry, and a lot of our growth has come from existing businesses and working with them. So we're excited. One of these 2 that I was telling you about earlier, one's a brand new location to Paducah, the other's an expansion of an existing business.
25 jobs,
New.
$35 an hour, new jobs. 100 jobs, $20.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a question on the road access. Will that $10 million cover what's needed to, I know there's been a lot of different proposals. Is $10 million enough to provide the road that's needed to access that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the road itself, there's a road, and then there's a new bridge that will be built over the south end of the P&I Railroad. So that $10 million will cover both the road and the bridge over that.
Okay. I've got another question. We had a lot of activity over the last year or 2 on the Bitcoin companies. Are they still operating here, and are they still going strong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. As a matter of fact,
you don't hear much of them.
As a matter of fact, I'm having lunch tomorrow with a group of 5 of them, You know, we've pretty much exhausted our opportunities for them here in McCracken County, because where the opportunity lies, they need to be close to a substation where there's excess megawatt capacity. So you have to have the megawatts available, then it has to be zoned properly and in the right location. So, but the ones that we did, Blockware's still going strong out there.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Bruce,
Right.
appreciate it. We'll see you in executive session. Maybe
Yes, sir.
it won't be too long.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Got Steve Irvin to address the opioid request responses.
Good evening.
Steve.
As you're aware, McCracken County is set to receive about $750,000 or so over the next 15 years from the opioid settlement. In late February, we sent out a request for information so we could get a better understanding of what the current effort in McCracken County is right now. From that, we received there were 5 responders: Four Rivers Behavioral Health, Kentucky Care, Lifeline, Merriman House, and the Purchase District Health Department. I think you all received those copies. Beyond that, I did put together a spreadsheet that just pulled a little bit of information out from each of the packets, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anything?
How are we going to decide who gets what? Are we going to share it with all 5 of these? And
Well, I think that's the next
Or
step.
is that what we've decided
If
next?
you start looking at $750,000 over 15 years, I believe the averages out to around $47,000 a year. Right there in front of you, ongoing payments, they're requesting $200,000 a year. So there's going to be some decisions made. Is it just going to be one, or do you want to sprinkle it out over several? So I think that's the decision. My recommendation from this point forward would be some type of grant process on whatever you decide to do.
will there be partners? The state also has a lot more money than we have. Will the state be involved in any of these local ones? Do you have any idea?
They
on
already
those?
are involved in several of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
When's their timeline? I mean, is it possible that these grantees are competing for state grants for the same project as the grants proposed to us?
I would think so, and they'll be ongoing with the state also.
And I guess that's what I'm,
Yeah, I think through, I believe it's called CORE.
Yeah.
Several of these agencies get the CORE funds, and I imagine, I could check on that for you, but I believe there's probably a yearly application through the state.
I just didn't know when it'd be handy to know what the state's going to do before we decide.
Yeah.
Of course, the state may say it'd be handy to know what the county's going to do before they decide.
Yeah, is there any coordination at all between what the state's doing and what we're doing, or is the state letting every county do what they want to do and then?
No, I think our core guidelines kind of follow what the state is looking at, and that's harm reduction, prevention, recovery, and treatment.
I just wonder if there's no coordination though in the funding of them, that will they come in and say, okay, we'd like all these and you provide your $47,000 a year and we'll provide $150,000 a year to do all the, I don't know if there's any of that kind of going on or not.
Not right now, there's no coordination with the state.
I don't suspect there would be with you. I mean, it's a good point. If we're looking at giving X amount of money to, say, 3 of these 5, just hypothetically, and we find out later that the state picked one and gave them a substantial amount of money, we would have likely have not given that same amount.
I think there's quite a bit of difference between what these organizations are receiving from the federal government and the state and what we're talking about with ours.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands and or up to $1 million probably. Here we're talking about maybe some housing vouchers, help with transportation.
Yeah.
That money doesn't get spread out that far over a 15-year period.
So we're amending our budget, I think, to show that we've received 153, about 150.
156 on 3219.
156 and some change. So that's the first annual installment?
Yes, and then it drops off in 2023. This year, it's 26,984, 33 the next year, 33 the next year. It goes back and forth. I think some of that depends upon when the actual segments are paid. But At 2029, it goes up to 50,000, then drops back into the 30s.
So they're not necessarily all
No,
going to be the
they're
same
not.
amounts.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Bill, you want to talk about the roof under discussion?
Yeah, can we, Michelle's here, can we just update on where we're at on the roof?
Okay. All right.
You want to talk about where you're at on it?
Okay, well, so fuzzy a little bit on time and dates and all, but Michelle, if you want to come up, come on up. So, where do we begin? We've had discussions. I guess the starting point was maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We met. The architect had believed that there was going to be a $4 million bill to repair, replace the convention center and expo center roofs. This is not the showroom lounge. It's not the pub. It's just the convention center and expo. After some discussions, and I think a second meeting, if I remember right, we now believe, I think, that we can repair, replace the roof, including a 20-year warranty, sufficient for the work, at about half that price, about $2 million. And backing up a little bit, at that first meeting, within just a few days, I think, we arranged for a roofer to go over there and do emergency repairs, keep the water from running down into the building. That's stopped. That worked for a temporary fix. So we've had the discussion between the city and the county. There was a project building the convention center, building the Carson Center and doing maintenance and repair on the convention center some 20 years ago, in which the county put it first in our 2% transient room tax, so that it reduced the bill from the city. We put our money in first, whatever we had, reduced the city's bill and others. The city wanted us to do that again. I said, no, this is a different project. What we want to do is, the city, it's the downtown central business district, Julie Carroll Convention Center, although it's city and county facility. It needs $2 million in repair. City put in half, county put in half, and we'll pay our half out of our 2% transient room tax. So $2 million we'll pay, and I don't think we've ever really decided if the convention center is going to have a portion of this pie or not. But for the moment, if we don't get held to this, at least the city and county should share the costs between the two of us. So county put in $1 million, city puts in $1 million. We will pay our $1 million out of the transient room tax, create a new interlocal agreement on this new project. The city does not want to do that. They want us to pay in again, if we can, for the entire project out of our transient room tax. They potentially would not have to put anything in. So it occurred to me, after I guess a good rest one night, woke up in the morning and thought, if the city will only do what we ask, pay half the bill for the roof, we pay half the bill for the roof, then we take what money is saved by that, by the city paying in that $1 million, and we put $1 million into a fine arts center. This is all pending. This is just something that we've not discussed. So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to say I'm deciding this. If the fiscal court were to agree, we could take $1 million, put into the Columbia Theater or the Market House Theater. I personally lean toward Columbia Theater. Those people have been struggling trying to get, we don't really, I think, even need to justify why we would need to try and save the Columbia Theater or the landmark that it is and all that. So we put our $1 million into the convention center. We put another $1 million of our transit room tax into the Columbia Theater, get them started. And as our transit room tax continues, we will have some obligations for that flow of money to the convention center, perhaps to Carson Center, but we should also be able to set up a continuing stream of money that, or we can bond and pay the debt service on repair of the Columbia Theater quite substantially, get that thing on its way, and we quit just talking about it and saying, "Boy, I wish we could." And so I sent a letter to the mayor laying that out. About a few days ago, he wrote me today. He said he'd have a response to my proposal, which is essentially what I just said. Again, assuming, and I put in the letter, this is just my idea, but if the fiscal court agrees, we can get that Columbia Theater up and running, and I think it'd be a tremendous opportunity to do that. So I hope to hear from him. In fact, he said he should be able to respond by tomorrow. Of course, they've got a fiscal or a commission meeting tomorrow. So, and then Michelle, you run the convention center.
So I guess I'm a little confused because when I took the job, it was explained to me that tax, that 2% tax, was for tourism, and it was put in place to maintain capital expenses and the larger expenses that the convention center need. So we've been operating under that pretense. There's no way, and there's not probably a convention center in the country that can absorb the capital needs through their operational budget. There's just not any way. We have to adjust our rates to be competitive with surrounding counties. There's just not any way for us to absorb our capital in our operating budget. So I think this is just a change. This is not the way we thought it was, that the tax was broken down. It's not the way we've done it in the past with the kitchen and other updates. So I think that I'm confused. I think our board is probably a little confused about how we're supposed to go about our capital needs if this 2% is not for tourism and is not for the convention center. Because
it's putting a new roof on the convention center.
We are doing the new roof?
Well, repairing, not, or you mean by a new roof, I mean repairing, replacing what needs to be done.
Yes. Because to my knowledge, nothing's been done. So I guess that's what I'm asking is where are we on this?
Oh, I thought I said that.
Well,
we put $1 million. City puts in $1 million. County puts in $1 million out of our transit room tax.
So it's contingent on the city putting in $1 million before we get a roof? Is that, I'm not understanding.
Yes, we'd like for them to share in the cost of a new roof for our convention center.
I think your question hits at the heart of the matter, and that is the statute. Is the statute, as the city manager said, community project money just for the convention center, or is it rather project money for the county's role in either a downtown convention center and downtown fine arts? Well, the statute says what it says. And while I understand the city position, and if maybe I were a city commissioner, I would argue the same thing, the problem is the statute doesn't say what the city commission says. Back in time, city and county agree that we're going to build this building and maintain it. 2001, I think, is the agreement you cite.
Yeah, that's what I have and been operating
You
under.
got two entities who will agree to maintain it equally. And then I guess they're relying upon, yeah, but you agreed to pay the initial bond payment this way, so that means that's the way it'll be forever, and that's just not true. That's kind of like your child saying, but you said you would pay my school, and then we're saying, yeah, but now you're 45. So things have changed. We've paid the original debt. They have an obligation to maintain the building contractually. This is, in fact, project money, but it's county project money. And we have project money like that in other statutes as well. The rental car tax, that's project money, and it's county project money, and we use it to pay Bruce's organization. We have the TVA in lieu of property tax money. That's project money too, has to be for economic development, and that's what we use to pay for the scrubbing, I think, that Bruce was talking about, clearing the land. And we use it to pay our part, not the city part.
And I think that our part is putting heads in beds, adding to that tax. So because of our heads in the beds, that tax is higher than what it would have been if we're not here.
I haven't seen any document that suggests this convention center, the nonprofit that you run, is obligated to pay the roof. I don't know. I didn't read it with that in line. I mean, you do get some of your own transient room tax, so I guess it would just be a look at whether you have excess or not. You're representing to me that you don't.
I do not.
So I haven't gone beyond that yet.
Steve,
but I think the important part is the judge is right on the law. And as much as I like our city manager, he's wrong on the law. This is project money. Well, heck, it's all project money. That's what tax money is. The problem is this is our project money, and he doesn't get to rely upon our project money for his half of the roof.
Steve, am I correct on the renovation of the kitchen, that they are not being paid by transient room tax, it's being paid equally by the city and the county? Is that correct?
There's three debts. Two are paid by tax. One of the debts is not.
Yeah. But the kitchen is different. So the kitchen is a true project, and the county could say, we're going to use our project money for a new project. This is a roof that needs to be replaced on an existing building of which there is an existing contractual obligation on the part of the city and county. There was no existing contractual obligation on the part of either the city or county to put in a new kitchen.
It was part of a capital improvement plan that the city and county made together.
Right.
That was, and so was the roof and the HVAC and other things,
and
which is what we've been operating under. We've been operating under, okay, this is the 10-year capital improvement plan. This is the plan to get capital expenses and things done. So how are we supposed to get a roof?
Yeah. Well, the fiscal court could say, you know what, we're going to take care of the roof. We could do whatever three members of the fiscal court say that we want to do with this particular funds. But the presumption that either your organization or the city gets to spend it for us is contrary to the statute. That's just bottom line. That's just what the statute says. But
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, as one member of this four-member organization, I want you to get a roof. I just think this. I love the judge's idea that if the city will just simply pay their share of the roof, we'll be in a position to put $1 million into a Columbia Theater, which is also a project I know is dear to you.
It is. It does not put heads in the beds.
It might,
But yes,
though.
I am a fan of the Columbia and do want to restore it. So yes. So we're at a standstill until the city agrees to pay. Is that where we are on the roof?
We're not writing a check tonight.
Well, George, the mayor said he would be prepared to respond to my proposal tomorrow. He's rejected it before. But perhaps to me, it's, I don't really like the no-brainer phrase, but it's as close to that as you can get. I think it's a joint project between the city and the county. We need a new roof, a repaired roof, whatever you want to call it. We need a roof that doesn't leak, a roof that does what roofs do. And for the city and the county to split the cost of that and to enable then the county to take the entirety of the remainder of our transit room money. Now, maybe, I think we're going to have to divvy it out some. It may be we would have other obligations at the convention center that we need to take some of that money for. Maybe we have some over at Carson. But we can sit down and work out the details. I'm just talking about a theory of how we can, through the city paying their fair share of the cost of this roof, the county then will turn around and put $1 million into, or thereabouts, into the Columbia. We can do a bond. I believe we could find our way to that the county transient room tax could pay the debt service on that bond for the Columbia Theater restoration. There's lots of ways to go about it and get it done. But the first hurdle is, yes, we need for the city, rather than to say we're not going to pay anything on the convention center roof, we want the county to cover all of that, which is, I think, as harsh as it sounds. And we don't want to enable the county then to put $1 million toward other projects, including the Columbia Theater. It'll take some working through it, but if we can get to just the core basic concept that the city and county will each share the expense of putting a good roof on the convention center and expo, that clears our way to doing things that will really be quite an enhancement. And it's not like we're doing it out in the county somewhere. Every penny we will spend will be in the central business district of Paducah, Kentucky. Not going to put it out in Carson Park, not going to put it out in Heath Ball Fields, anything else. And it's not saying that because we're going to be generous about it necessarily, and saying that because that's what the statute says. And so the city, the central business district of the city, where all these merchants are, downtown Broadway, and expanding out, will benefit tremendously from this. And all we need is for the city to say, okay, we'll pay our half.
Is there a way around this where we could go ahead and start the process on the roof and y'all can figure this part out afterwards? Because currently, as we
you know what the
sit,
city's going to say?
I don't know. But as we sit, the back part of the convention center still leaks. If it rains during a quilt show, it's coming in the
What about
ballroom.
the showroom? How long has it been leaked?
Well, I don't operate the showroom. I don't have quilts. I mean, I'm liable for what's under my roof. And currently, my roof is leaking.
Well, I thought it was not leaking.
No, just the front has been taken care of. The whole back, it still leaks.
Into some of the meeting rooms?
All the ballrooms and the meeting room all leak currently.
Well, I was aware of that.
Yes.
I thought we got...
No, that was just the downpour in the lobby and in the front of the atrium of the
Okay.
expo. So no, the rest of the back of the ballrooms and breakout rooms, they all still leak.
Okay. Well,
So that's the urgency, is that it is still
I
leaking.
understand. Well, have you gone to the city and
Yes.
made this pitch?
Yes.
And how'd that go?
Back to the county because they have that extra 2% that they're getting from tax.
Yeah,
So
we've
you're-
we've got our 2% that we're getting from a tax that we enacted. We took...
And I
action.
contribute to by putting heads in the beds.
You and lots of other
Yes.
organizations in the city,
So we are,
including the county.
yes, we are leaking, and we do have events coming up, and it reflects on us.
We're going to meet 4 times in the next 30 days. So
Okay. You need anything else from me?
We're ready to meet, I would think, and make a decision once. You're not going to be waiting on us once the city makes its decision.
Okay.
I don't think. I guess that's me speaking for
Oh,
all
I'm
of us.
sitting-
That's for me.
Sitting on go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll see what the city's position is. Maybe they're going to have it on the agenda tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe we're doing that internally. See where we are. I just think it's just a tremendous opportunity for doing something in Columbia that's been talked about for how many years. they've been raising money privately and that sort of thing, and here we come along, I think, find a solution for it. Then we'll see. All right, court orders, 5A.
It is ordered that resolution number R 2023-4 adopting and approving the execution of a county road aid cooperative program agreement between the McCracken County Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department for Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 be approved.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve a local government level sponsorship of $1,000 paid to the Paducah Chamber of Commerce for the opening reception of the Energy Communities Alliance ECA Forum to be held in Paducah on Wednesday, May 17, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
So,
I've got a question about that. I'm in favor of this. I'm not going to vote for it, but will we be able to attend that, the commissioners? According to this agreement, only 2 of us could attend.
there's some internal discussions on that about, I think the talk is centering on, can we, for like the reception and for other things, meetings and stuff, they charge the price for attending the internal
Right.
nuclear and those conferences and that sort of thing. I think that we will likely be able to have commissioners and perhaps other people from the community attend the reception and other things.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if we could have a showing there and even go into some of the meetings so we can kind of hear some of the discussion that goes on. I don't want us to have to pay what's the registration fee for it? A big registration fee.
What is that, 500, is it? Or, do you remember what the registration fee is on the, I can't, it doesn't say on here.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
It sounds about, I think that is right.
I mean, I'd like to attend some of us, to hear some of the discussions, what goes on, but.
Well, I don't know.
But anyway,
you're going to be there through Pac Road.
Through back row. Yeah, but it's a good question, and we may have to pay for some of those rides.
Well, we get 2 registrations to the forum. No, we don't. I'm sorry. We get 1 registration to the forum and 2 to the reception. I think it would be good if the faces of the elected officials were there.
Well, we'll work to see what we can get done. All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that the McCracken County Judge Executive be approved to sign the Mutual Aid Assistance Agreement on behalf of McCracken County Emergency Management for the purpose of fire rescue services and related special operations between counties during emergencies and disasters.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve the March transient room tax in the amount of $324,300.20 to be dispersed as follows. Paducah CVB, $96,301.10. Convention Center, $64,736.51. Sports Tourism Commission, $97,904.69. Escrow Fund, $65,357.90.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to pay the invoice dated March 25, 2023 to PFGW for the Sports Complex project in the amount of $23,386.85. This is pursuant to the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement dated September 7, 2022 between the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the County of McCracken County, Kentucky, and the Sports Tourism Commission. As per the interlocal agreement, the City of Paducah pays half of the invoice to McCracken County. Further, the Treasurer is authorized to transfer $11,693.43 from the General Fund to the Sports Complex Project Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
You don't say, I take it as an aye. F.
It is ordered to pay the invoice dated February 24, 2023 to BFW for the sports complex project in the amount of $4,116.60. This is pursuant to the interlocal cooperation agreement dated September 7, 2022 between City of Paducah, Kentucky, the County of McCracken County, Kentucky, and the Sports Tourism Commission. As per the interlocal agreement, the City of Paducah pays half the invoice to McCracken County. Further, the treasurer is authorized to transfer $2,058.30 from the general fund to the Sports Complex Project Fund.
So move. Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered
Wait, sorry.
It is ordered to pay the invoices listed below to Barkley Regional Airport Authority for new terminal expenses in the amount of $78,179.49. This amount is one half of the total invoices of $156,358.98 and is pursuant to the interlocal cooperation agreement dated August 28, 2021 between the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the County of McCracken County, Kentucky, and the Barkley Regional Airport Authority. Invoice MCFC 032923 dated 3/29/2023, $23,189.82. Invoice MCFC 033023 dated 3/30/2023, $54,989.67.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to amend the motion in the following manner. Motion to strike the word invoices and substitute therefore the word invoice. Strike the figure $78,179.49 and substitute therefore $54,989.67. Strike the figure $156,358.98 and substitute therefore $109,979.34. And strike the words invoice MCFC 032923 dated 3/29, $23,189.82.
So that's paying only our half of the Jim Smith construction.
Of the parking invoice, right?
Okay, so we've got a
I'll second the motion
second to the motion.
for the amendment.
Okay.
The purpose.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just the purpose of my motion is to leave this one invoice. I think we're in the last 2 minutes of the game at the airport terminal, and I think we need a huddle, and I'd like us to be in the huddle. And the best way to call a huddle is to say, here's one invoice we'll pay after the huddle. So we want to invite the airport personnel to come, and I'm specifically wanting to see the end game. I know we've just gotten a Delta regional grant for sewer work. I know there was some sewer work in the $6 million bond. There's some sewer work in the reasoning for the $6 million bond. And so I just want to have a moment where we have a comprehensive look at where we are and where we're going to finish. So that's the purpose of my amendment.
Let me ask a question about your amendment. What did you replace the 78,179 with? What number?
$54,989.67.
Okay, it should be half of that, because that's our half of it. And then the full 54 should be where the 156 is.
You may be right.
No, these invoices are our half. They invoice the city for their half, they invoice us for our half. These invoices are our half.
But in the motion, though, it says for one half of the total invoice of 156.
Well, I reduced the total down to 109, so I think I did it right.
You're just using the $54,000.
Yes.
To gross it up.
So whether you agree with my motion or not, I think I did the math right.
So are we paying 54,000 or half of 54?
We're paying.
54.
Okay.
Yeah, the total between the city and county is 156
Okay.
and change. So our halves were the 23 and 54.
Okay.
So 77.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That carries. All in favor of the order as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
That
Do we
carries.
want to discuss any of that, or do you think you said enough?
I don't know. If you want to discuss it more?
I think I think that the purpose of this is to make sure we have some, as Commissioner Jones said, we have some discussion with the airport board about the amount of money being spent and how much is being spent in the future. There's another play into this, a $5.3 million state grant they have coming in. Part of that $5.3 million is to go for sewers. As Commissioner Jones mentioned, we're getting a $1.7 million Delta Regional Authority grant to help pay the sewers. So really it would seem to me, common sense would say that our investment should be somewhat considerably less than $3 million. And we need to have some discussion with the airport board to find out how they intend to recommend to spend the $5.3 million and the expenses remaining in the terminal project. I think we need to have that discussion. That's the purpose for doing this. And I would suggest in the future that if we don't engage in that discussion, that we withhold the funds that we give them quarterly until they're willing to sit down and talk about this.
I feel certain that they will, but this is a stronger invitation to come.
And maybe we need to do that at a workshop, maybe, or just bring them to a meeting, or it might be more relaxed to do it at the workshop, but we'll see how the judge wants to handle that.
Well, we've laid out in the interlocal agreement that we would pay the invoices, but I think what the point is, you just want to have more discussion as to what the invoice amounts are, what they are, or
Right.
is it?
Well, and
Right, yeah.
more specifically, is there a windfall? I mean, we had some sewer work in our plan. They got a grant from the state legislature said we'll pay for some sewer work, and then they got a Delta Regional grant to get some sewer work. So I think there's more money available for sewer work than there is sewer work, but I could be wrong. I just feel like we'd ask.
I've been told by the state that they cannot use the $5.3 million for sewers because that comes through it's an airport grant, and you can't use the airport money for something that's not on the airport property.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can use that 2.7 for the sewer project off of the airport campus. And that frees that 2.7 million, hopefully, to pay some of these costs of the terminal. And the airport board has the authority to decide or recommend how that money's spent. So I would hope that they would use at least some of that 2.7 that's earmarked for sewer work to help pay for the terminal project.
Yeah. Any money we save us is money we're saving the city. They get the same dollar we get. Maybe they'll have enough money for a roof.
All right, any other discussion? Do we?
Thank you. I just
Did
want to
we
make
vote?
sure it's clear what we're
I think we
doing.
voted on
We
that.
voted.
You voted.
Okay.
Thank you.
You feel confident you got all those ins, outs, and strikes?
I wrote them down. I can help you.
Thanks.
All right. Where are we? H, are we?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
H.
are.
Okay.
It is ordered that the judge executive may enter into a contract with the Purchase Area Development District for work related to the reapportionment and voting precinct redistricting for McCracken County.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. So what
That won't be a,
are they going to do?
Steve, can you,
So reapportionment ordinarily occurs right after the census. Due to COVID and other things, the legislature delayed it a couple of different times, but we now have a hard deadline where the committee has to be appointed by the fiscal court early in May. And this is just looking at the commissioner districts and if we have to do anything different with the individual precincts. At this point, we don't think so. It'll be striking off the commission districts, and they have to be within 5% population, or then we get into trading and shifting around precincts.
What's the pad do in this?
Just the GIS work to make it really easy. So they overlay census data with the precincts. They've already done a good chunk of the work. I think Jeremy was projecting it's going to be around $5,000 worth of work.
So they'll basically have expert data that's available to the
committee.
commissioners, to the new commissioners.
Yes.
Not new, but to the reapportionment commissioners.
Yes, yes. So that's getting on a quick schedule. We'll have some appointments to make. I think it's a 3-person citizen committee plus the clerk. I went through the process in 20, fairly lucked out. We overlaid the districts with the census data, and we were within 5% of all of them, so we didn't have any work to do. I don't know what happened in 2010, if they changed them around. They look the same to me. Hopefully it'll play out that way again for us.
I think there'd have to be some change between.
I thought somebody in the clerk's office told me it's still pretty close. I mean, there won't have much, if any, change.
The commission districts are kind of pie-shaped, right? The pie comes down to a point at the foot of Broadway, and they go out radially for the 3 districts. So versus, being concentric rings, we could do them differently if we wanted to, but that creates a lot more work. So I think the first thing likely that'll happen is we'll test to see where we are, and then how can we either manipulate a precinct or trade some precincts to get them to balance to be within 5%. So it's possible.
We can't divide precincts.
Well, then we get into the LRC if we do that, and the state legislative districts. So it's really hard. We try real hard not to do that. We're going to be lucky.
Okay. I'm for lucky. I vote aye.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It is ordered that ERSIT be paid $31,361.10 as shown on invoice number 2700-1 for debris monitoring and documentation.
So move.
Second.
So that's, I guess, Steve, are we completely wrapped up on the Fremont area and other adjacent area cleanup with this?
We're certainly done with vegetative, and I would say we're very close to being completed with the C&D as well. It's not to say there won't be some minor things that need to be cleaned up. We expect reimbursement on this $31,000 from FEMA eventually in 18 months to 2 years. But they'll finally settle that claim with us. That was why we hired ERSS. They're doing all the documentation and paperwork. So this was primarily for debris monitoring is what we paid for.
Are you satisfied with the work they've done? Are they well done?
120% satisfied.
Okay, it's one of the things in that one meeting we were in, they said the one thing you'll need 2 years from now is a ticket for everything that was dumped, and if you don't have that, you're not going to get your money.
We went through remonitoring a year ago, and they looked at projects that were completed 10 or 12 years ago.
Right, yeah.
And that was a nightmare situation for us.
But you're well satisfied that everything is okay.
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job in what they do.
Good.
Our people did a really good job. It made their job easier for them too. And we scrambled about and found the locations within, I think, a day or two of the tornado. And so everybody worked together and got it done. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to declare as surplus the 32 by 32 slope roof stage and portable stage.
So moved.
Second.
So is this the stage, or is this is the stage that we use for Lower Town?
Yeah, I've put it on there, worded that way to declare it a surplus so that we could perhaps make a decision. We talked 2 weeks ago. I've talked with the mayor. Steve Doolittle's talked with the city manager. I guess we're down to, in fact, the most recent communication was like this afternoon, just a few hours ago. We wanted to find a way where we could, I don't want to hurt these projects like NAACP, Oscar Cross, the Arts and music festival downtown, various other entities that use the stage and probably can't afford to go and rent a stage for $5,000 to $8,000 for a single day. And so, going back and forth, my pitch to the city, and I think Doolittle's pitch was, look, we bought the stage, we want to put it up. All of these uses are in downtown Paducah. We don't use it. It's not out at Heath. It's not out in the county. It's all right in downtown Paducah. We'll bring it in. We'll help set it up. We've got trained people, as I've said before. Our entire Parks Department, Tony and Troy, put the thing up. They've trained and experienced in putting it up. We need the city to come forward, give us 4 workers to help our 2, and we'll move the thing down here. We'll bring the ballast, 4 2-ton ballasts down here. Got to bring a loader to put them in place, all that. Erect the thing, take it down. We need the city to provide 4 laborers. I think apparently now we're down, and I got a communication from a lady from one of the organizations today. Said, hey, I had told her if the city will provide us 4 people, 4 laborers, put this thing up, we'll do everything else. And I heard back from her today. She said, we talked the city into it.
This is Lower Town?
This is for the NAACP.
Okay.
We talked the city into it. And I look at what the city manager told the woman, and he told her, we will pay for the cost of 4 laborers. Not, we will provide 4 laborers. So I think it's obvious, and there's a big difference between paying for 4 laborers and providing 4 laborers. So I guess the word analysis is, I believe the city has now said, if we'll do everything, we'll hire all the labor. County will provide everything, provide the labor, then the city will reimburse us for the cost of 4 laborers. I think that's the analysis now. And I think it's clear that they just don't want to have any kind of liability resolving this stage, and they don't want to have to fool with hiring somebody or assigning somebody to do it. They don't want to use their own Parks Department personnel for some reason. Maybe it's a good reason. I don't know. But I don't like the idea of us providing everything, hiring 4 more people that are going to be untrained unless we train them. We supervise them. Will they show up? And all of this, let's face it, it's all for downtown Central Business District, Paducah events. And we're in the position of saying, will you hire 4 people, and will you send them to us? No, we'll reimburse you for the ones that you hire. They don't want to be in the stage business. Also, Mayor, look, we could talk about whether we want to buy a stage together that's hydraulic, that kind of sets itself up. They said they don't want to be in the stage business. They don't want to be in the stage liability business. They'd rather us to do all that for their projects downtown. And I don't like being frankly treated that way. I think we're being exceedingly generous in offering to provide what we are, and we're not met with anything except at the end of the project, whatever it is. I guess they will say, okay, here's what we paid for labor, here's your whatever it is, $300-400. Fortunately, me and you know, I mean Bill knows, something happens, that stage has a problem, somebody gets hurt, there's a hell of a difference between the city having hired people to come put it up and them saying, no, we'll just reimburse you for your choice of labor and how you put it up. And they have essentially no liability, and we have it all. That's my main concern.
When we purchased that stage, the new stage, back when probably 6-7 years ago, the city agreed that if we purchased it, they would help us put it up for charitable organizations that we get a small fee for. That was part of the agreement. To me, that was a precedent, they said, and they're backing off that, and they want us to withhold the precedent of funding the roof on the convention center and say we can't change, but they are backing off agreements that they made to put up the bubble for the quilt show, to put up the stage, and they're backing off all those. So, you know, I think we ought to, I like your position on it, and I think that, unfortunately, I hope we don't have to sell it, but I think the city should help with it because they made that commitment when we bought it. Otherwise, this county probably would not have purchased that new stage.
I got two questions. One, there was the insinuation in the article, maybe it was just the way the article, or I don't know if it was an article or news media, some report that we rent it and that we make money off of it. And I know we do rent it. How much money do we charge so that at least the public has the benefit of being able to analyze that, whether we make money off of it or not?
I think we had one event last year where we actually charged and collected money, and in retrospect should have probably treated them the same as all the other nonprofits and not charged them anything. So with the exception of one, so for Oshkosh Boys and Girls Club, we didn't charge for that one. For the 8th of August event, we don't charge for that one.
Lower Town?
We either charged Lower Town or we charged barbecue. It was one or the other.
How much do we charge when we charge?
$700.
$700. And it was, how much did we pay for it?
90-some thousand. So the 700, really is to stop, the willy-nilly of, hey, you guys got a stage, bring it down to my backyard for a gig this weekend.
But for $700, Tony and Troy will deliver a $90,000 stage.
Set it up and take it down. And it's not just that. So Troy and Tony monitor the stage through the whole event for weather, because under certain conditions, it's like a sail. And when it gets stormy, windy, it has to come down. And so they're on edge watching the weather to run down to the event and make sure the stage comes down so it doesn't get torn up and get anybody hurt. So it's just too much for two people to manage. It's just unrealistic, and the system's changing. It's really what are we going to do? And so one of the options is sell it, get out from under it.
All right. So once, if I vote for this tonight and it's declared surplus, and it passes, does it come back to us again before it's sold, or could it be sold tomorrow?
It would have to come back to you again for approval of the sale.
Well, we would advertise it at some point. We don't have to do it anytime soon, I guess, but I would say, we're going to hold on to it for if it goes through. We'd advertise it, have to accept whatever offer, the high offer, however it's, put it on Gov Deals if we do what we're going to do, but we have to approve the sale price and sell it.
All right. Let me just go through this labor one more time. All right. So for Lower Town last year, we got it, $90,000 stage. Our two guys, Troy and Tony, deliver it down to Lower Town. And then the city would provide 4 of its laborers.
Yep.
They would come over and work with 2 of our laborers, and they would put up this stage. And they would be done in how long? They would
Day
take
and a half.
Day and a half. And our two guys can't do it in a day and a half. It takes 6 guys to do it. I say 6. It takes 6 laborers to do it in a day and a half.
Just putting it out.
Yeah.
So,
And then you got to take it down. Yeah, that's a good point.
so we're going to, just with Troy and Tony and maybe an inmate or two, we're going to put it up for Lower Town. We'll manage that. But we're looking at at least a 5-day cycle ahead of the event, and that's even weather dependent. Because if we get rain or wind or something that slows us down, we'll have to take that into.
So the city's already
account.
bailed on Lower Town this year. That's what they said they would pay the cost.
Yes.
If we talked to the laborers union, is there any possibility that they would have, I mean, I guess that's the struggle, is how do you hire laborers for,
Yeah, so getting quality, reliable help that's been trained, has the PPE, has
as the comp coverage?
some work, has all the coverage, and to say it's maybe 8 or 10 days a year seems to be a tall task for us to maintain some temporary laborers, short of going either to a contractor or going to the labor union and saying, help, can you help with this? But even then, it's how do you get the same people, so that, it was pretty much the parks guys that were doing this. They were pretty good. They were the same people that showed up to do it event after event after event, had their protective gear, brought their tools, brought their trucks, brought everything they needed to help. It just changing that dynamic to where maybe every single time we have a different crew makes it the job that more hazardous, that more difficult. I've heard plenty of people in the community tell me, well, I don't see why you just can't get volunteers to do it. I think, to address that, it's too difficult. It takes training.
Like getting volunteers to put together.
And if it rains, volunteers don't show up. And these events, the dates are mission critical. You can't afford to fail when the event starts on Friday and no one showed up on Thursday to help. I don't know what we'd do. We'd have a mess on our hands. We're trying to avoid that.
Well, I'm proud of the county government supporting the Lower Town Festival and not letting that fail because of this. Really would love to see city commissioners talk about this issue and whether they really want to, does the city really want to pull out of this business? Because I just think I live in the city, it's a service that these are events that we all love, and they need some government help. They don't happen and won't happen without a little help from the governments, and this is where government should help. But I'm a little hesitant to take this vote tonight. I mean, surely there's a fix.
Table it.
Well, we don't have Richard here, so that's not a good reason maybe to wait. See what I mean, he did express some interest in us continuing to just provide it, even if the city did not. So I think it's the way he spoke last meeting. I think it's also instructive that I did some research on a similar stage rental from somewhere, Louisville or Nashville, wherever. Wasn't it $5,000 for the first day? Is that what it was? And then $1,200 each additional day?
Yeah, we found one online that was very similar to the size of ours, and it was like $5,000 for the first day, and it had so much for each additional day, $600 delivery charge, so much per mile, and then you have to hire a technician. That part about someone babysitting it in case it has to go up or down.
Yeah, it's $3 a mile, I think, driving. So there's there's a reason why these things are so expensive to rent. And to say that we're making big money charging $700 to set the thing up when it would cost $5,000 to $7,000 otherwise.
Yeah, this one's baffling to me, but, I can see, we're about to have a designer look at Carson Park. I can see us designing a permanent stage in the Carson Park and us taking the position of, that's our stage. If you want to use our stage, it's right there. It's in Carson Park. But I'm hesitant to take this position tonight.
Well, it could be that we could offer these clubs, I don't know if they insist on having their projects there, whatever it is, downtown. I guess the downtown, might insinuate downtown arts and music festival, but they don't want to be downtown.
Yeah. Well, they've actually had it at Carson Park the last couple of years. That festival.
Well, you want to move to table it?
I'll move to table.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. I'll just tell this lady with NAACP we're trying to figure something out. Perhaps the city can find a way to help us out a little bit. All right.
Maybe we just donate it to the city.
They don't want it. They go out of the state. Let's see, ordinance.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of ordinance number 2023-07 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2023-07. An ordinance amending McCracken County Ordinance Number 2022-02 by revising the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budget by modifications in receipts from bond sale, opioid settlement, insurance proceeds, miscellaneous, federal prisoners, and state reimbursement in strict compliance with mandates of Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 68. Summary. The present ordinance revising Ordinance 2022-02, McCracken County proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budget pertaining to a modification in receipts from bond sale, opioid settlement, insurance proceeds, miscellaneous, federal prisoners, and state reimbursement. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of Ordinance Number 2023-07. Public inspection. Ordinance number 2023-07 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of this being the first, approving this as the first reading?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. That carries. All right, we're going to go into executive session. There's nothing for us to decide when we come out, so we'll adjourn. Need a motion to adjourn after following executive session.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. So we'll come out of executive and be adjourned. All right. Oh, I need to say something. Going into executive session to discuss proposed pending litigation as permitted by KRS 61.810(1)C. And also a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize local retention, or location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity is permitted by 61.810(1)G. And then to discuss matters with our attorney and attorney-client privilege.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right. Here we go. Executive session.